Hey guys, we are living the authentic life, and today I'm with one of the most beautiful, fashionable, international women I know, Varda Fields. We have been friends, I guess we've decided, for 13 years or so.
At least 13 years, correct, at least 13 years.
And we had the most humble beginning. When we met. We were waiting in line at Saks Fifth Avenue for Christian Louboutin to sign my shoes. She had VIP access, and her shoes were probably already signed. But we stood in line together.
You stood. I crashed the line to be with you because I. Go ahead.
Yes, but we had this. Was it an hour? It was a while.
At least it was the longest line. A couple of hundred women all holding Louboutin shoes.
I know,
waiting in line, and we just start talking and talk for a couple of hours. It was an hour and a half, at least 2 hours.
So we were talking about how it's interesting in our lives. We meet so many people, and how do you kind of decide who you want to keep on board and see? And I guess we realized we had mutual friends, and we realized we were kind of going to the same events, and then we started talking more. I think we were both working out at the Houstonian at that time.
Maybe I just started working out at the Houstonian, correct?
Yes. But you have not, obviously your beautiful accent, you have lived around the world. You travel the world. One of my favorite worldly stories of you is that your daughter was married in Europe, and that her beautiful wedding was featured in Vogue online.
Yes.
She was married in a castle?
In a chateau.
A
beautiful chateau outside of Le Mans in the Loire Valley. It was magical wedding, beautiful.
And you have beautiful daughters who the other small world story is I was in Capri when she was there, and we were both making videos, and I was in the background of her video, and you heard me talking, and you texted me.
She sent me the video, and I'm looking, but wait. And I heard this voice. I know this voice. And like, is this the name back to back with you? So I like, Sivan, the name is right next to you. And then I text her, like, you're standing next to each other. Apparently, they already left by the time I got the video.
Yes.
But you contact her or you met her the next day.
And then we met for drinks later that night.
I was like, I could hear her voice. Like, I know this voice from somewhere.
Yes, my Texas
was
voice in Italy.
I was so nosy in the video.
Oh my God, I love it. But family is so important to you, and I think we've really bonded on that. You have 2 daughters and a son.
Correct.
And you're a grandmother. I mean, gorgeous What's your grandmother name?
Tata.
Tata.
Tata. Savta. In Hebrew, Savta is grandma. But when they're little, they cannot say Savta, so they will say Tata. Aww. So that's the name. I'm a Tata.
So beautiful. And recently, they were staying with you for a few months.
Correct. They were staying for 3 months. They came for the Jewish holiday. Mm-hmm. They're supposed to go back October 8th, and October 7th, the war starts. And they stay with us for a couple of months till December. And we did the best out of that. The boys went to school, and they just had an amazing time. It was once in a lifetime. We bond. We had great time together.
Well, I think that's really special with you, is even in the darkest moments, you see light. And I think, that's what I said, what I really wanted to share about, because you've been through a lot of darkness. You have this beautiful light around you, and you're a beautiful woman living this incredible journey, traveling the world with this gorgeous husband and family and successful business. But you've been through a lot.
I've been, and I think that's what made me stronger. It didn't kill me, so it made me stronger for sure. Yes, I've been through a lot of darkness, but there was this little bitty light in the end that drew you. and you want to reach and get to the light in the end, and that's what you focus, not behind what's behind you already, what's waiting for you. And I knew there is something waiting for me in the end there. So I keep pushing and pushing myself to get to this little light. And till today, I don't look back. I don't. You don't forget, but it's there. There is nothing you can do to change it, just to get better, to improve, to look just for the bright thing that can be and waiting for you.
So you weren't born into a family with money and privilege?
No, we were, I don't want to say poor, but no, we couldn't afford anything. We didn't have a car. We will walk or take a bus. But that was back then in Israel, that was a common thing. However, till I was 10, I didn't have even my own bed. They will put chairs next to the twin bed of my brother at night. We'll put the kitchen chairs.
Oh, wow.
So, but that was kind of, you didn't know better than that. And most of kids around you were the same. And when I was 10, we moved. So we had a room a bigger room, so we all can be in one room. We could have a bed, two pull-up bed at night. So it was 4 of us, 2 brothers, 2 sisters. So at night we'll have pull-up bed. Each of us had his own bed.
And I think it's interesting. We went for my dad's 80th birthday to Sicily, and we met his first cousin who we'd never met. And we went to their home, and we were sitting in their living room, which was also their dining room, which was also their bedroom. And there were like 10 Italians and the 10 Americans, and they didn't really, and there were beds and couches and chairs. And we were like, oh my God, this was literally 4 years ago. This was pre-COVID. And we were just so used to different things in America. Like, we don't realize how amazingly blessed we are with the space we have and the accommodations we have. And it's really something. But you could still find happiness even in these places.
It was wonderful. It was such a small, warm family. And it was great. We were together. It was basically like, they call it 1.5 bedroom back there where I was born. But it was like the living room that my parents convert the sofa at night to a bed. Mm-hmm. The sofa will convert to a bed. And half a room, it was not even one room, so it was half a room that had the twin bed, the crib for my sister, and there was no room for another bed, so that's where the chairs came at night. But you didn't, that was most of the people around me.
Yes.
So I didn't know better. I didn't think anything is wrong with that.
And at a very young age, or what age did you join the Israeli army? It's part of
18.
Living in Israel.
This is part, and it's the best experience of your life. That's given me the best foundation for the adult's life. And
you were in the Air Force?
I was in the Air Force.
Did you fly?
The intelligent of the Air Force. It's all called Army. So I was.
Okay.
It's Army. Even the Air Force is part of the Army. So I was in the Air Force, the intelligent at the course, and I did specific thing there. And I wish we didn't have to go to the Army. I wish we don't need to fight. I wish we don't have to defend ourselves. But reality is different. And we have to serve, might as well to do the best you can. And you learn so much. It just it's mature overnight. You're so mature. When you were 18, think about that. Here you're going, when you're 18,
to college.
You're going to college.
Partying.
It's party on the weekend. And you cannot party really when you go to the army. You need to defend people. The family and your friends depend on you. So everyone, when they are 18, they grow up overnight just like that.
Incredible.
And it is one of the best things
And when did you
that-
decide you wanted to move to America?
So then after the army, I continue what I did at the Air Force. I continue in the police. I joined the police. That you didn't know that.
I did
You
not
didn't
know
know
you were part of the police
Yes,
either,
I
girl.
was in Tel Aviv police. Yeah, in the
Uh-huh.
special unit there for 3 years.
Wow.
And but let me take you back. Like in Israel, back in the day when you were 20 and you're not married, and I'm talking back then, it's not the same now. There was a lot of pressure if you're not married when you're 20. That was a lot of pressure. You need to get married. Otherwise, you know, you will be really, if you're 25 and you were not married, that was
You were a
like,
spinster.
oh, that's it.
Uh-huh.
So there was a lot of pressure, and I did get married back then. And my previous husband, my ex-husband, wanted to live in America because he had some family in Chicago. So I came, and it was supposed to be only a short visit, just to try for a few months. And here I'm over 35 years later. I'm still visiting America. It's a nice visit, a nice tour. Yeah.
And where did you start?
I start in Chicago, and I spoke very little English as second language, and I did all kind of work from selling shoes, selling clothing. I had a dry cleaning service. I tried different things, but what I didn't like there was the weather. I could not adjust to the weather. Never saw snow in my life. It was so cold. So we came to visit in Houston, a friend, and during Thanksgiving. And it was in the 70s, which is normal.
Yes.
60, 70 was normal. And I could not believe it. We went back. It was like maybe 10 below.
Yes, you're
I'm
like, let's go back to Houston.
And then the car back then you didn't have remote. You had to start. It was frozen. You couldn't start the car. They had to I'm not gonna live like that. I'm moving to Houston, and I love everything about Houston.
Did you bring your husband with you, or you came on your own?
No, we came and we decided to move here. Here I am. That's how I came to visit friends in Houston, and we're still here.
So being around the world, what do you feel about the people of Houston? How are they different?
They remind me of Israeli. Very warm, very open, generous. And that's what I like about the Texan. That was really remind me of the Israeli people. Really proud of their state, of their country.
Yes, very proud.
And very, very, I mean, that's what, like, this is very close to Israel. Believe the country, the state is very important for them. And I really like Texas. That was back in the 80s.
And your husband now is quite a Texan.
And then I remarried to a real Texan.
Yes.
5 generation. We've been introduced, he keeps tell everyone when the lady that introduced told him about me. He said, well, she's Israeli, she's Jewish, English is her second language. I'm Texan, not Jew. I speak only English. I don't know if it's going to work. She's like, why don't you go on a date and just for coffee and see? And it was magic.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I just loved reading. I mean, he is a very astute businessman, and he is so respected in the city of Houston for what he's done for the Sports Authority and working to bring in the World Cup and helping to negotiate the baseball here. And I read that he was quite an athlete in high school and certainly
in college
big
as well.
In college,
Yeah.
a scholarship athlete. And here he is, this burly Texas man with this beautiful Israeli Jewish woman. And so what do you think the connection is?
We in the end of the day, it's really we respect each other and we accept each other. I will not change him. I'm not going to change his religious. He will not change mine. But we really respect each other the way each of us grew up. the culture, and we find a way that connect us too. So it just show you it doesn't matter. You can be from the same city, the same street, the same religious, but you really need to respect and accept what each other is.
And he's helped you, you've helped him together.
We
You have
did.
built this amazing cemetery named after your father.
We yes, we're about to open the Jewish cemetery in the end of May, and actually it's working, but the official opening gonna be in the end of May. It's named after my late father. It's called Shalom Baruch. My late dad name was Baruch, which means in Hebrew blessing.
Aww.
So shalom, it's a word that I think a lot of people recognize. Shalom
Yes.
means hello and peace and hi. So it's Shalom Baruch. And we felt like there is a need for another Jewish cemetery. There are a few here in town. However, this one we divided. You can have a section of very more Orthodox Jews. There is a section that will be it was a mixed marriage, interfaith marriage. Because
Yes.
usually it's you cannot be buried, and there is a lot of couples that
Yes.
are not both Jews.
Well,
so
like
then
you two.
exactly, so then non-Jew cannot be buried in the Jew section. So in this section, you can have two faith.
Aw.
What's unique about the Jewish section, we built replica of the Wailing Wall, or we call the Western
beautiful.
Wall. And actually, you can put a note. You know, the famous one, the real one in Jerusalem. You go, you pray, and you put a note and request from God for health, for whatever you need. So you can come, you're welcome to come and put a note, and we take it twice a year to Jerusalem, to the real wall, and we put it right there.
That's
So
beautiful.
many people
Oh,
that
it's a
don't-
destination from
It is.
different places around the country, I would
Exactly.
suspect.
And as far as we know, we're the only one that have the replica of the wall.
Beautiful.
And we took it last year when we just built it with a couple of people that came, and we went in last June, and we delivered the note to the wall.
So beautiful.
So this is something that really moved a lot of people that cannot afford, cannot go to Jerusalem. That's the closest they can get. They can
Yes.
come to our replica, put a note, and we more than happy to deliver. It's like a mission, and feel like it's really something good to do.
So amazing.
Also at the cemetery, we build a water fountain, the shape of Star of David.
Oh, gorgeous.
And we have all the things that we need. We have beautiful, I mean, you're really welcome to come and tour it and look at that. It's on the way to the airport, only 25 minutes from downtown Houston. And it just, if all the future, we talk about it for a long time, everything that you want to be there. So when you go to a Jewish cemetery, you put a yarmulke, a kippah. So we have a kippah for the visitor to use. We have also the stone, the rocks that you leave on the grave. When you go and visit, you leave a rock. We do have the candle. We leave, when you go also to visit a cemetery, you light a special candle to memory of the deceased. And this candle we light for 24 hours. So we have those as well. We supply them.
And those
So-
are on the graves, or those are in the...
Door, the entrance when you get to the cemetery, it's there waiting for you, and you're welcome to take and use it.
So I'm Catholic, and most of the time when we go to Catholic churches around the world, you're able to light a candle and say a prayer there for someone
Oh.
special to you. So that's interesting, because I think there's so much crossover.
There is.
And like I think it's important for us to understand where each other's coming from. I mean, certainly Catholicism and the Jewish faith are so similar. I mean, Jesus
Agree.
was a Jew.
Of course.
So it was
And
the
died as a
basis.
Jew. Yeah.
I know. It was the basis of
Yeah.
Christianity, and so much of what our beliefs are the same beliefs that come from it. And I, being a person from a very Catholic, Irish on one side, Italian on the other family, there were so many traditions that I didn't even know if it was Catholic or if it was my heritage. And I felt like that's the same with Israelis who are devout Jewish people who also, it's what you eat, what days you eat it. It's like you don't know what's a tradition and what's religious and what's a way of life.
It's kind of blend at one point because there is a lot of tradition, and then there is, of course, the Jewish came from so many countries, so many culture. So each of them brought their own culture from the country that they came. So it's mixed tradition, and the Jew that came from Poland had different things that Jewish that came from Morocco. The Jewish came from different places, and they create this beautiful mix in Israel that blend from everything from those countries.
And did your children learn Hebrew at a young age?
That was the first. I spoke with them. I made sure they speak Hebrew. That's what I spoke at home, Hebrew only with them. And also when they go to Israel, they can speak with the family, with their grandparents, with their cousin, because they know the young kids in Israel English. So they had to speak Hebrew. Yes.
And what about their children? They're learning both?
Correct. They speak Hebrew and English as well.
And I'm so sad that I don't understand Italian in a way that I can speak it fluently. I feel like my grandmother spoke to me when I was young,
Really?
but she passed when I was 5.
Oh.
And because it was frowned upon to be Italian when my father was raised in Bryan. So he lived on the streets. The Italians had one street, the African Americans had a street, the Mexicans had a street, and they were separated, and they weren't allowed in the country clubs, and they weren't invited to things, and he couldn't date certain girls. So he was told not to speak Italian at school. He was told that it was less than. So it's just interesting. Whereas now, I talked to so many people who are children of immigrants, and I feel like most of them are teaching their children the ways of the past.
I think it's very important to know where you're coming from, to give them this structure, and then when they grow up in life, they can choose and do whatever they want. But you know that you give it them, you introduce them to your culture, to your parents' culture. It's really important that a lot of things in life, they will know why they're doing it and where it's came from. You don't have to follow that, but you know that's who you are.
But you give them the basis
exactly. You make
of
sure
where
they
your
know who they
choices
are.
come from.
Correct.
And you work a lot and have worked a lot with the Women's Home, with different organizations to help women come out of either addiction issues or violent homes or different things. Can you share a little bit about that and what you've done to sort of help them on their journey?
So I spoke at the Women's Home because when I got divorced years ago, I was not in a good place, not in good shape. And I had to work 2 jobs and, to make living for me and my son. And we couldn't afford even renting a place. So we did home tending, which we moved from house to house. I was embarrassed to talk about it back then, but looking back now, it was probably immature overnight, helping me moving from house to house, and we'll try to sell it because people didn't live. And do you know what's home tending?
No. Is
Okay,
it
no, but
staging a home
no.
to make it to sell?
Home tending, I didn't know what is it, but
Okay.
I ran into a friend and I told her I got divorced and I'm looking, I don't know where to live. I didn't
Uh-huh.
want to move
Mm-hmm.
for him not to be zoned to high school anymore where he went from. So I
Right.
wanted to stay in the area that I could afford to live there. And she said, do home tending. I'm like, what's home tending? And she's like, basically it's a vacant house and you move there with your furniture and people come and look at the house and you cannot be at the house when they show it, of course. You cannot put any pictures, but at least you can live in a place. I was like, that's perfect. The year was 2009, 2010, which real estate was awful. That was a dream. So we live in those beautiful, gorgeous home
Wow.
that we could not afford, and they were vacant, a lot of foreclosure. And I moved with my furniture. We couldn't again move pictures, and my son back then was embarrassed to tell his friend why we keep moving, because we move every week. We can be every month, every week in a different house.
That's hard for a young boy.
It was,
Or
that
girl.
was it's maturing overnight. And one funny thing I remember for that second or third house is one of his friends came over and she looked and it's like, I don't think your mom like you. And to my son, and he said, why? It's like, she never put any picture of you. And he could not tell her why we cannot put picture. And people keep asking, why you move? And he had to tell them, oh, my mom helped design houses. He had to come with different. Now we're making a joke out of back that it was kind of embarrassed. But so
And you had not had your daughters yet? Or
no,
they
I
were,
do. No, I was.
Your
already,
daughters were.
Yeah. Oh, they were already out of the
They
house.
were out of the house. Okay, that's
Yeah,
right.
they were. So
They
he
were
was the only one
older.
with me. He was in
Wow.
high school, and so we moved to a place. We couldn't have a dog. We were not allowed to have a dog, and we hid the dog, a little bitty, and we had to run away every time people come to the house. They will just give you 30 minutes notes. We're gonna show the house in 30 minutes, and there was a lot of restriction. You couldn't.
Yes, I've tried to sell a house and live in it, and it's just
it's
not.
a lot. So,
it's
but
not
we
good.
did it. We made it, and we became expert on houses for sale and everything that's involved in that.
So, what made you decide to open a cemetery? It is kind of a unique category.
You cannot. Okay, the thing you can. My husband is in his family in this business. We're going to be 100 years in 27. We're going to be in 3 years. We're going to be 100 years. The same.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It opened at 1927.
Okay, so he was already in the
that was
cemetery,
his grandparents
but he
at cemetery. He built
expanded
the funeral homes and opened more location. They had one cemetery off Rankin Road, on 59 in Rankin Road, and they had only one cemetery, his grandparents. And he took it and opened the funeral home. Later on, it's and expanded. So that's what it is now. We have 4 locations. And we always used to talk where, when time comes, I told him I need to be buried in Israel. And he said, well, I would like to be buried here. So we talk about how about if we're going to have a Jewish cemetery here so you can stay here. That started as a joke, but it's ended up as we open, he gave.
But that's the way so much really happens.
Exactly.
Because there's a need, and you think, I'm not the only mixed marriage.
Exactly.
I'm not the only 2 people that are in love that want to be buried together. So interesting. So have you watched the show Ozark?
I did.
Yes. I mean, that was like with the whole funeral home and the crematorium. I was like, wow, that's a whole nother.
It's a lot. It's business. I'm learning a lot. When we met, actually told me.
Yeah, he's like,
that
no,
he didn't want to say funeral because some people it scared them, and including me.
Oh, it did scare you.
So he told me he's in the real estate business. which it is a real estate. It is a very
it's your
permanent
final
real estate,
resting
right?
place. You got to
So
buy
I
that.
took, and then slowly thought, well, actually, it's a different kind of real estate. It's a cemetery, and I was really confused. I didn't know how. You never meet people in this industry.
No.
I never met anyone in this industry, so.
Well, I was friends with Bill Earthman, and the Earthman family was a big, so of course, but it was years ago. But yes, he got funeral jokes all the time.
Oh, there is, yeah. There are inside jokes, but I learned.
But it is such a dramatic time, and Rob and I are going through our wills right now, and just trying to, we're buying properties and doing different things, and we realized we really needed a trust set up, and we need to look at things, and when you talk about it, it's so depressing. You want to just not do it. And I mentioned it to the attorney because we've already met 4 or 5 times, and he said a lot of people just don't do it because they don't want to think about it.
People think if they will talk about it, if they will do something, that's it will happen.
Yeah, like they're prophesizing.
Right.
Prophesying
However, and I will be honest with you, because we see cases, those things can come unexpectedly.
Yes.
And the family, the people, the loved one in shock. And when you need to make decision, when you're in shock and emotion, you're not stable, you're doing the wrong decision. And then there is family member don't agree on things.
Yes.
It will turn to really not a pretty things. This is really very highly recommended to prepare everything ahead of time and leave it. You don't want your kids to handle it. You don't want to there it will go to so much emotion that now they need to take care of arrangement.
Right.
That's a lot. People need to do it, set aside, and that's it. It's there. You don't need to worry about it. Your kids don't know. The family. We see, unfortunately, cases that it's divide families and friends, and
It does.
It does.
And are you seeing more people wanting to be buried or cremated?
Cremation, it become very popular the last few years. Different reason. It can be, it costs less. And people that want to go green, it's go green movement. So we see more of those. However, we felt like, what happened? People would like to cremate, and then the kids take it, they pass it to their kids, and then some children end up with 4 or 5. They don't know what to do with it.
They don't know what to do with all the ashes.
And sometimes we get a phone call from someone that moved to a house, and they will find the urns in the closet. And what do you do with that? And there is a number that's why we identified who it is. So we opened a couple of years ago cremation park, which is beautiful. It's garden. It has a lazy river in it, so you can be cremated. However, you can be buried in a different monument or statues or area, and you leave your mark and your name. So 10 years, 100 years from today, your name is still there and not left in a closet. So it's cremation, it's very popular, but we do have the cremation garden now that you can be there and your name will be there as well.
And I don't know the answer to this. I'm going to ask the question because I thought that some Catholics didn't believe in cremation, but I know my parents are being cremated. There's different interpretations of the Bible, like when you come back and who you're united with, and do you get back to your body? Is that part of the Jewish faith too? Are there
correct? Jewish are not.
They don't cremate. Okay,
not. Correct.
Because you go back to your body.
That's correct.
Okay, interesting. I knew there was something about that, and I couldn't remember what it was.
Similar. There is a lot of similarity.
Yes,
as we said, between Catholic and Jewish.
Yes, absolutely. So, husband and wife working together. Rob and I love each other every day, but girl, we do not like each other every day. How are you and Jess working together?
Well,
do you delineate your titles enough, or do you want to push him in a grave someday?
You know what? I'm doing my thing. I'm focusing on the Jewish section,
yes,
which it doesn't really involve in
yes,
that, and is doing his thing.
Good.
Yeah, we manage. It's fun. It's nice, and we enjoy being together.
That's so awesome. Do you ride to work together?
No. No, I'm driving. I'm the driver. I'm the designated driver, and no one drive me. And I like to drive. So I have more flexible hours.
Yes.
I'm very flexible.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, tell me about your kids. How do they feel about you being in the cemetery business? What did they say when you told them you were going to?
They thought it's a joke because my background was fashion and clothing.
I know, because it's kind of
they thought it was a joke first. It was really, they didn't believe me, but it's grown on them. It is what it is.
It's so incredible.
My passion and love was clothing and beautiful things, and it
still is.
It is.
You still dress divinely and
thank you.
Enjoy expressing yourself in such a beautiful way.
Thanks. But it's and I learned a lot about this business, and in the end of the day, it's the only business that each and every one of us gonna need one day.
I know, exactly, right? We don't need a Birkin. Well, we think we need a Birkin.
We need a Birkin. It's good to have a Birkin, yes. You need to have a Birkin.
Yes, and to know where we're going to be buried.
Exactly.
So I'd like to have a few words with you. We discussed that we know this is controversial, but we can't speak about Israel and about your faith without really talking about what's happening in your homeland and to your people and how the world responded. So I want to give you a platform to sort of share a perspective, because I think you say things with a kind heart, and I hope that people who have different opinions or have different thoughts can just open their minds to hearing different perspectives, because I feel like that's the way we grow, is by understanding where different people come from.
And that's okay to have your own mind and your own, but you need to know where the other side coming from. You need to understand history. You need to understand what's involved, not just to get your information from the social media and because it's cool to be anti-Semitism today, to be part of that, because that's not the case. It's okay. It's so much, it's so complicated, and I grew up all my life with, to be aware with a war. There is always a war. There is always dangers of a war. We keep defending ourselves and defending. There was nothing on October 6th. We were not in Gaza. Just to give you a little background, we were not in Gaza. We're not in Gaza since 2005. Gaza, they elected Hamas, which, as we know, it's terrorist organization. The people of Palestine in Gaza elect them. We were not there in October 6th. We didn't invite, we didn't call for a war. October 7 was the Israel Holocaust. It was awful. Even what you see in the media, what happened there, it's nothing like what really, really happened there. They came, killed, tortured, burned babies, stories that I cannot even talk about them. That's not resistance. That's not to have a Palestine country. That's not what it is. It was purely to kill Israeli. And when I say Israeli, they killed Arab Israeli. They killed Thailand's people that work in the kibbutz. They killed everyone that was in Israel. The next day, we see already people in the street demonstrate against Israel. just to put it in perspective, think about a day after September 11, people here, thousands of people marching in the street, calling, back then it was Bush, not to fight with bin Laden and not to have a war against terrorists. It doesn't make sense. And that's how different the world is now than it was 23 years ago, almost 23, 22 and a half years ago. Here, the other way around, after September 11, yes, you want to get the bad guy. You want to destroy them. We didn't invite September 11 to come here on us. We didn't want a war. But they came. You had to go and defend yourself. It's the same thing on way more on the scale, what happened in Israel. But the next day we see everyone start marching against the Jewish and against the Israeli, which it's not right, it's not acceptable to come, killed innocent people, kidnapped 300. There are still over 120 still in Gaza, in those tunnels. They starve them, they rape the women, they torture them. We are wearing a lot of Israeli or American, whatever support, we are wearing that bring them home now. And they didn't do anything, those people. They were sleeping at home. The terrorists came, the Hamas came to a Nova festival. And how ironic that this festival it's called Peace Festival.
Yes.
Hundreds and thousands of young people were
listening to
dancing.
music.
They just came and killed them one by one with no reason, just because they were dancing for peace. They're still captured there. There is a baby that turned a year old. Is captured since October, a baby. His brother is 4 years old, captured as well. And his family, think about the family. Mm-hmm. It's just horrible stories. And that's not right what's going on now. It's not. I'm wearing the Star of David and the Dr. since October. And I'm really wishing that someone will come to me at this grocery store or anywhere and talk with me and ask me, someone from the other side that don't accept me, that don't want Israel, that I would like to hear you and I would like you to hear me. But no one, all those months, almost 6 months, not even one person, they will stare at me, they will look, they will not come and talk. They will be very brave on Instagram, if they march in thousands of people in the street, but no one come to ask. If I will see someone that I don't agree or I will talk with him, I will tell him my opinion. I would like to hear his opinion. And I don't see it. They are just, it's cool to be against Israel. It's cool to kill Jewish and Israeli. You feel like you belong to this cult, you belong to something, and they just, it's horrific every day. And they don't tell you about all those cases about Jewish that go to synagogue and on the way they will beat them up. They will break windows. They will do so much. And that's not right.
Well, I listened to a podcast with Condoleezza Rice, who has a lot of background in the Middle East and in that area. And she likened it to our 9/11 and said that we were protecting us from letting it happen again. And that was something that resonated with me. I know so many people don't like war. I know the war is horrific. There are certainly things that happen back and forth. America has made many mistakes in the past. But it is biblical, too, to fight for your protection and for your people. And God calls us to do that. So I think we have to pray about it. I think we have to support our allies. I think we have to come together as nations to find ways to come to resolutions. And I thank you for being brave and for sharing your heart. And I didn't hear anger and hatred in you, but I heard a love of your people, and I hear pain, and I know a lot of people feel pain, and I hope that we can come to a place that we can talk about the pain we feel so we can all get to the other side of it.
Thank you. To make it clear, because whatever you hear on the media, on social media, we don't want to hurt the Gaza people, the Palestinian. They can have their own place. We are actually want to free them from a terrorist group. What Israel is doing the job for the rest of the world. We are going after a terrorist group, not after the Palestinian resident civilian. It's a war, and in a war there is casualty, like in any other war.
Every war.
It's in
for centuries.
Correct. If the Hamas will surrender tomorrow, there won't be a war. There won't be, if they will release
the hostages.
We have no business to be in Gaza. We are not there. We want our people back. We want the 1-year-old, we want to 80 years old, we want them all back. They belong to their family, not in the tunnel in Gaza. If they will release them, we don't need Gaza. We are not there.
That's a different discussion.
It is, right.
It is.
So we're not, to make clear, we are not after the Palestinian civilian. We're after a terrorist group to release our hostages. And I really hope I made it clear, because people think we hate the Palestinians, we want to kill them. Definitely we're not.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much.
It was really beautiful to hear your story.
Thank you.
And see how much God has blessed your life and how you're able to bless so many other people. And give people a place to rest eternally. So
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, guys, keeping it real, living the authentic life. Until we meet again.